Anthony Albanese walking away from the tax and spend approach, as you wrote yesterday in the Inquirer, and putting industrial relations at centre stage.
That's right, Kieran. This is, I think, was a very important statement from the Labor leader this week. He wants to enshrine industrial relations at the heart of Labor's campaign for the next election. He wants to use this to turn the politics of the pandemic against Scott Morrison, arguing that Morrison wants to cut pay and conditions, and he wants a more casualised workforce. And this comes in the context of Albanese signalling that he won't enshrine tax and spend as the centrepiece of Labor's campaign, which is what Bill Shorten ran on at the 2019 election. So Labor's unveiled a series of policies and commitments here, but essentially what they want to do is they want to strengthen wages, and they want to reduce the proportion of casuals in the workforce and increase the entitlements for those who are casuals. Now, I think there are two problems with Labor's agenda. The first is that Scott Morrison and Christian Porter are not going to engage in any rerun of work choices. Their industrial relations bill before the Parliament, with one exception, is fairly modest. They want to cut a deal, legislate that bill, and put industrial relations out to the political pasture as an issue. They don't want to campaign on industrial relations. Secondly, the economy and the labour force has changed a lot. And it's true, with the digital economy, there are very significant changes in the nature of work, and the long-established trade union campaign for more secure work runs into an economic problem. Labor's difficulty is, if it runs hard on this, there is a cost imposed on this policy, and the question is whether that involves a levy on business. And it's also very clear that the government's reply to Labor will be, you don't know how to run a modern 21st century economy.
The Victorian lockdown, Paul, we hope it ends within days. Does it show a lack of faith from the Premier in his own systems?
Well, I think it does. I mean, this is the third lockdown in Victoria. Now, there are many health experts who disagree with this short, sharp 5-day lockdown. The business community, of course, is appalled because they've got to carry the burden. The Prime Minister said that he wanted a proportionate response. Well, the message here is you never get a proportionate response from Daniel Andrews. He boasts about his system. He claims he's got the best system in the country. When that boast is proved to be hollow, he then engages in a major lockdown. The truth is, the country can't go on like this, having these premiers engaging in lockdowns when we have one or a few cases. We recently saw the West Australian Premier, Mark McGowan, engaging in a lockdown in Perth because of one case. That was an unjustified overreaction. The stakes are very high for Daniel Andrews now in terms of what he's doing. The stakes are high both for the Victorian Premier and for the people of Victoria.
A majority in the US Senate voted to convict Donald Trump, but not the 2/3 required, so he is acquitted. But this is certainly not the end of Trumpism, is it, that vote?
Well, it isn't. I mean, Trump got off 57-43, as you say. The Senate didn't have the 2/3 required to convict Trump. Trump will claim this proves that he's innocent. Well, that claim is completely false. I think there are three takeouts from this entire process, Kieran. The first is the sheer weakness of the case made by Trump's lawyers. Secondly, the new material and the new video material made available during the impeachment process, which showed that the invasion of the Capitol was more serious than what we initially believed, that the rioters got very close to the politicians and that they wanted to do physical harm to those politicians. And the third point is the rioters believed that they were acting on Trump's advice. They believed that they were doing what Trump wanted. Now, I think the point to make about this overall is that while Trump has not been convicted, he's certainly been damaged. Whether the impeachment has helped The overall sense of American polity, we'll have to wait and see. President Biden wants to unite the country. The impeachment process would not have helped that.
And before you go, the Biden-Xi call, what did you make of it? President Xi, President Biden, their first call.
Well, President Biden said they spoke for 2 hours. What I'd say about that is you don't have a conversation for 2 hours with another leader that you think you can't do business with. So there are a number of messages from the American side. Biden criticised the Chinese leader over repression, over unfair trade practices, over denial of human rights, over the situation in Hong Kong, over the threats to Taiwan. Biden said that he wanted an open Indo-Pacific. All that's well and good. The president, however, made it clear to the Chinese leader that he wants to cooperate on COVID, on climate change, on nuclear weapons. And so clearly what we're looking at with Biden is, I think, a different relationship with China. He's going to be tough in some ways, but he's going to look for cooperation in other ways. The takeout from the Chinese side was very much about cooperation. So I think it's a mixed message here. Australia will have to wait and see. It's very important for Australia that Biden take a tough line with China. It looks at this stage as though that will happen, but it's early days.